Hold that. Thank you. I wanted to mention, if you guys don't know where the bathrooms are, they're over there to the right of our screen. There's a door over there. Yeah. And also, if you guys are not in our group, let me get out of the way. Oh, okay, come on up here. I got on the shirt, veganswfl.org. That is our local vegan group.
That's the Southwest Florida Veg Fest also.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. That's our biggest event. And actually, there are people in our info tent over there who can tell you about Southwest Florida Veg Fest. Yeah. We have the biggest national and worldwide speaker names at that event. 15,000 people approximately show up in Bonita Springs. That's February 16th. So you'll find out about it by joining veganswfl.org, our Facebook group. We have almost 5,000 local people. We talk about everything plant-based or vegan that's local. And you'll also hear about Naples Veg Fest, which is next weekend. I'm not sure if you're going to be there or not, but it's next Sunday in Naples. You'll find out about it by just get on the group. And Evan, talk about your stuff.
All right.
All right.
So actually, I came here with more books, but now we only have one book with me right now. But we have more at my booth, which is over there. As he said, we have the restrooms over there. There's electric cars over there, and there's a whole bunch of cool vendors everywhere, and there's food trucks over there, so make sure to check everything out. They have so much stuff. I don't know if you can check everything out because, well, anyways, so I have my book that I helped write, and we're selling it for $10 a piece, so make sure to get that. I'll be hanging around here because I'm emceeing. So I hope everyone's having a great day. Actually, we have another awesome speaker, and so they're about to come up.
Yeah, it's Marcus Watts,
Okay,
actually.
here we go.
Yeah, Marcus you got the microphone, Marcus?
Yeah, I got it, and thank you so much for the introduction. This is the third time I've seen you? I think this is the third time I've seen him. Hope we get more young kids interested in a plant-based lifestyle. So, my name is Marcus Watts. Let me ask a question. How many of you guys are from Fort Myers originally? Raise your hand. All right. How many of you guys are from like the Northeast? All right, where? New York? I love New York. There's so much good vegan food in New York. I went there, I was not expecting it to be as cost effective, but it was just all we did when I went to New York was just go to a brewery, go get coffee, go get vegan food. We just repeated that all day till like 2 in the morning. Awesome. Well, my name is Marcus Watts. I'm originally from Port Charlotte, Florida, which is just north of here, about 45 minutes. But I'm an Army brat, so I grew up all over the world, exposed to a lot of different lifestyles. I would go to college in Louisiana by way of Alaska because we moved all over, and then I would finish at Florida Gulf Coast where I would then head overseas to play professionally. And I think that those experiences of being around in countries where I was on teams that people didn't even speak the language, in places where I knew no one and I had to try new things, kind of set me on this path that I'm gonna tell you about. So first off, I wanna ask a question. How many of you guys have ever been in a situation where you feared for your life? Raise your hand. Anybody? Everybody ever had your life at risk? Yeah, it's scary stuff. So today I'm gonna tell you about a time where I went from being 7% body fat, working out an hour and a half to 3 hours a day even, 30 years old, in the best shape of my life, to diagnosed with pulmonary embolism, 2 blood clots, and told I had to undergo a massive overhaul in my life. So in 2013, I started playing ball overseas. I played a lot of really fun places: New Zealand, Denmark, Portugal, all over South America. I stopped playing basketball when I was about 27 because I wanted to dive very deep into growing the next part of my life. As they say, the air comes out of the ball for everybody at some time or another. I wanted to be the person in charge of that, not someone else. So I decided to come back during a time when I was rehabbing and I had torn my groin in Paraguay. I decided to come back, and while I was rehabbing, I would kind of get immersed into the community here in Southwest Florida. At that time, I just got so ingrained. It was so fun to get to work with young kids, and I was testing my programs, involved with so many youth organizations that I just decided I wasn't gonna go back. And to give you an example of high performers, and I wasn't in the NBA, I didn't get that opportunity, but I was a very high performer. As a matter of fact, this past summer, I'm 36 now, I played with NBA and G League players in some very big tournaments across Florida. I averaged about 25 points a game, so kind of coached my ego a little bit because I still feel like I had the juice. But I was a high performer. In order to test myself, right, to see if I was ready to go back and play professionally, my warm-up is a 5-minute mile on a treadmill, and then I go into my workout. So as long as I could do that pain-free, then I knew, and if anybody understands that, on a treadmill, you can't slow down, you can't cheat it. So you set the pace, it's a 5-minute, let's go. At that point, pain-free, I'm probably ready to go back because that was just the style of training that I had. But again, I decided that I wouldn't leave. Set some goals, and fast forward a couple of years, I'm now opening my first gym. Things are going amazing. Some of you might know the brand CrossFit Lawless. That was one of my first original gyms. CrossFit Stereo was my second gym. I remember one day I was working out with a bunch of heavy hitters, much more progressed than me in the competitive fitness athletic world. A few were CrossFit Games athletes. One was on The Ultimate Fighter. A few would go on to be nationally ranked weightlifting competitors. We're doing a pretty crazy workout, and I get almost done with the workout, and one of the girls says, Lauren Brooks, who placed like top 5 at the CrossFit Games, she says, "What's wrong with your arm?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Your arm, it's swollen." And I'm amidst a 30, 40-minute workout, and I was like, "Yeah, it's swollen because I got this stupid pump going on," you know what I mean? And I realized that wasn't the case at all, right? My left arm had swollen up 4 inches larger than my right arm. They would instruct me to go to the emergency room right now, and I felt fine, so I was kind of like, yeah, I'll go. Went and got some food, went home, took a shower, fell asleep, said, all right, I'll just go tomorrow. Tomorrow came, I got up, I went to urgent care. I walked to urgent care, tell them my name, tell them a little bit about what's going on, fill out a couple of papers. Go and sit down. About a minute later, I gotta watch the clock because I get long-winded and Michael kicked me off. I go and sit down. Like 2 minutes later, someone comes over and they say, "Hey, Mr. Watts, we think that you need to go to the ER." And I was like, all right, maybe this is a little serious. So I leave. I head over to Health Park. I go to the ER. I say, "Hey, I went to urgent care. They told me they thought I needed to come here." Okay, yeah, what are you telling me? Fill out 2 more papers, tell them your name. Hey, Mr. Watts, go sit down. I kid you not, I barely sat down. Now there's like people all in here, like there's people all around. Some guy's arm was like really messed up. He looked like he was writhing in pain. I was just like on Instagram on my phone. They said, "Mr. Watts, come back here, please." So I was like, oh man, all right, I'm gonna keep it cool, I'm a smooth operator, but this is definitely serious. So they take me to the back, they start running some tests, and again, just to paint the picture at that time, I ran a 5K in about 22:40 at about 240 pounds. I squatted well over 400. I was about 7% body fat. I ate about 5,000 calories and trained about, like I said, an hour and a half to 2, even 3 hours a day, about 6 days a week. So they're running on my vitals and they're like, oh yeah, like, we're sure it's nothing serious. Because, they're hearing my background, they're seeing my records and all that stuff. At this time, I didn't take ibuprofen, I don't use ice, I take absolutely no medications. My diet was fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, lean meats. If it sounds familiar, some of you may have used to experience it. It's called the paleo or Paleolithic diet. As far as we can adopt it ourselves today in the 2000s, right? So they say, we're gonna run a couple tests. They take me, they go to run the first test, come back, think you're fine. Send me for one more. I'm hanging out. The doctor's like asking me all these questions about playing basketball, because he's like a basketball fan and stuff. And so the doctor walks in the room and he says, "Mr. Watts, we need to admit you right now." And I go, "Oh, okay." And he says, we think that you've got a blood clot, and we need to take the necessary precautions. And I was like, a blood clot, what? Me? There's no way. Like, I'm shredded out of my mind. I take care of my body. I sleep. I eat healthy. I do all of the things that you would say you're supposed to do in order for this to not happen to me. They bring me in the hospital, and again, I just can't stress enough, like, I didn't feel any type of way. As a matter of fact, I was like in the hospital, I was like calling my brother, like, hey man, can you bring me some food? Because I was eating about 5,000 calories a day. I'm like in there with my shirt off, like hanging out, like just playing music. I'm just going through whatever they tell me that I need to do so I can get out of there, because this has to be a huge mix-up. There's no way. So 1 day turns to 2 days. 2 days turns to 3 days. 3 days turns to about 6 days, and this was actually the week of Christmas. So I was in the hospital for Christmas in 2013. I had just turned 30 the month before. So when I was in there, one of the things that really started to catch my eye was when they asked me about information on how I ate. And I was like, okay, awesome. Can I just ask why you guys are asking it? And they're like, well, your blood labs are like through the roof, some of the healthiest that we've ever seen. And we just want to know how you eat so we can try to paint more of the picture. I was like, awesome. Now, mind you, before I tell you guys this, my HDLs were 97. So if anyone here knows about HDLs, it's the healthy fats in your blood, the healthy fat count in your blood. So normally anything over 60 is considered very, very good. I was 97. Now most of my diet consisted of about, I think at that time having about 350 grams of fat a day, which I just had through the meats that I ate, and a lot of oils and other things, because fats are the easiest source of energy, right? You get 9 calories per gram of fat, 4 calories per gram of protein and carbs, right? It's just easier to get that. Also, my family is from the islands. We're from Jamaica, so we have a lot of what we call pear, or like the large avocados, and a lot of the foods are just oily. It's a very natural thing. My body responds very well to healthy fats. So I told them how I ate. So you guys brace yourselves, okay? All vegans here. So I said, all right, well, I wake up and I have a cup of coffee with MCT and coconut oil. I have about 5 to 7 pieces of bacon. I have 7 to 10 whole eggs. I cook the eggs in the bacon grease so I can get more fats. I have a whole potato. I have 1 to 3 cups of spinach and or kale, onions, as many peppers as I can have. And I was like, normally breakfast for me is about 1,300 calories. If it wasn't, my training that day was gonna be very off. Now, again, this is an example of understanding output versus the intake that's needed to support that, because you'd be like, holy crap, that's a lot of food and a ton of fat. But again, I was performing at a very high level, even higher than when I was paid to fly around the world and put a ball in the hoop and make other grown men not want to step onto a court. And I looked better than I ever had in my entire life. And they were like, that's impossible. And I was like, I already knew the answer. I knew why they were saying that. I was like, tell me why. And they were basically saying that there's no way that I could have the low cholesterol that I did combined with the high HDL count, with the amount of like eggs and fats that I was eating. But the thing that that these nurses and these people in the hospitals, not the ones that are a part of those studies. I speak with a lot of those doctors and those surgeons who are very up to date on the status of the newest studies. Something you have to understand is that a lot of these studies, they won't come out to the public for 10 years. So I already knew the peer review studies on you consuming eggs, the yolk of egg, which they tell you, what they used to tell you not to eat, had the most nutrients, healthy fats. It was already shown that it was good cholesterol at that time. But they were still of that mindset. So that right there was eye-opening to me, because I know this information and I'm just a guy that played basketball and had a gym. But your job is to help people like me get out of here. So that was kind of like the first red flag. So it was like 3 days before I ever saw a doctor. And when he walked in, I swear this is what he did. I gotta watch the clock so Mike doesn't jump on him. He just walks in, he grabs the board, comes over, and he's standing there. He flips like 3-4 times. And I'm just sitting there like, hi, like there's a person here. And I want to kind of preface this by saying I am in no way against doctors. I think that everyone should consult their physician before you do anything with nutrition or fitness. You just need to be aware of the type of doctor that you have, and make sure that you're empowering yourself with the knowledge to also go in with the right mindset. And he basically said to me, he said, okay, so we got two options, okay? You can leave here today if you take option A. And if not, you can leave in a few days when we level out your INR levels, which is what they had to find. They had to get it to a certain point. And at that point, they knew what type of doses I needed of Coumadin, which they wanted to put me on. So a lot of people are very familiar with Coumadin. He was like, but if you do option B, you're gonna have to go to the hospital every day for about 30 days to get your INR levels checked, which means I had to get poked, and then they had to run the test, and then they had to poke me again, and then they had to give me pills to take home. And I was like, okay, option A sounds too good to be true. Tell me about it. He goes, well, if you were to be in an accident, we would not be able to give you vitamin K to stop the bleeding. You would bleed out. And I was just like, so all these machines in here, all these like x-rays and like all this technology here, and that's the best answer that we have? Don't ingest vitamin K, and if you take this pill, you can leave today. I was like, okay, let's go with option B. I don't want to die. I'm not going to take that risk and become dependent on that. So I just want to find a way to get out of the hospital and just get back home. So I get out of the hospital, I get back home. Now I'm doing my routine every day. I have to drive down to Lee Memorial. I have to sit down. They call me back there. They poke me sometimes 3-4 times. I'm like, jeez, help me. And I go wait in another room. They call me back. They stick me with something else. They give me some pills. Okay, so I'm about tired of this now, right? I'm supposed to go see a specialist around like day 31 or 35. So I've been asking questions pretty much every day, and I'm a very informed patient. I'm very informed. I work with Fort Myers SWAT as a master fitness liaison. I gave classes at the police academy. I was exercise science and kinesiology board member at Kaiser. Again, I work with people every single day. My life is dependent around performance and helping other people realize that performance. So no one was giving me information, I felt. So I'm on the way to my appointment now, driving in my car. I had an old Dodge 1500. I love this truck. It was like burgundy. It was kind of beat up. You just throw stuff in the back, but you don't care. It's kind of run over everything, curbs or nothing. So I'm driving in the truck, and I call and say, hey, have an appointment in about 30 minutes. Sorry, someone was calling me. I have an appointment in about 30 minutes, and I just wanted to ask, no one's really gave me any information. I know you can't tell me what's gonna happen, but can you just tell me kind of what to expect? What's the process? And again, they're blowing me off, and they're just, again, very informed patient, right? I follow directions, I do what's asked of me, and I do a lot of research. So I was like, so you can't just tell me what to expect? I'll go in, I'll see the doctor, what the process possibly could be afterwards. I'm just nervous. And they said, your doctor will explain it to you when you come. And at that point, I felt like I had two options. Continue to put my trust in someone that I felt didn't have my best intentions at heart. That's what I felt at that time. No one had shown me otherwise, really. Compiled with the information that I'd gathered on my own. Or I could continue following what the system said I needed to do, which honestly was what I had already been doing, and it brought me here. And it was a very eerie moment. It was actually raining at the time. It's I remember it like it was yesterday, the rain on the windshield. And I hung up the phone, and I was right in San Carlos, the McDonald's is off to the right, you know what I mean? And I flipped the U-turn, and I went home. And at that moment, I came to grips with the fact that I was taking my life into my own hands. And though it may sound a bit morbid, I understood that I could literally die at any moment. I was not taking Coumadin. I was going completely against my doctor's orders, and I was not doing what the system said that I needed to do in order to get me back to health. But I felt that because I was an educated patient, because I surrounded myself with the right people that I trusted in myself to ask the right questions. And I was totally okay with, if this is what happens, at least it's on my own terms. Some people agree with that, some people don't, and that's totally okay. So I went on this journey the next year and a half, and it basically was around me being exposed to some people that I was seeing do plant-based diets to a degree, and it made me excited to just give it a try. I felt like this was the best thing for me. So I started experimenting. The crazy thing is this. They told me it was going to be about 16 months until I was able to come back and be exercising again. So 16 months of no working out. During this time, I've been exploring versions of transitioning to a plant-based diet, removing certain things, adding in more of other things. I got some blood labs done like right around 16 months, and they were like, we have no explanation for what's happened. You've made a complete 180, and not only are you not at risk for blood clots, your blood is showing that it won't clot. And we need to do some more tests on that. They're like, but really it's just about making sure your diet's stabilized out with sugars. And I was like, so I can work out now? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, thank you. Hung up the phone, started training immediately. Within a month, I had PR'd every single lift of my entire life. I deadlifted more, I squatted more, I ran faster, I jumped higher. This is, again, 16 months later. And I was like, what's happening? My recovery was through the roof. My joints didn't hurt. It was insane. I had a coach, he was like, I don't know how you're doing these things. And that was the difference. I started experimenting with a plant-based diet. And it's just led me to just want to help and share that with as many people as possible. Not that, hey, you should go away from your doctor. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that you should be informed, that you should ask more of the right questions. And that as a 6'8", 240-pound guy that only eats plants and on most weeks consumes less than 100 grams of actual protein a day, which is a whole other conversation. If you guys want, you can find me, we can talk about it. You really only need 0.8 grams of protein per kilocalorie. If you break it down, it's really per pound of lean mass. So let's say you weigh 240 pounds and you're 15% body fat. You don't need to feed the entire mass. You only need to feed the lean mass and what you weigh in muscle and bones, right? Makes your consumption much lower and your need for protein much lower as well. So I gotta go here because Michael run me off. I like to talk. So Mike, just one more minute. 5 more minutes? Yes. All right. Awesome. So, yeah, it's at 10 minutes. Gee, man, Mike's happy today. You guys must be texting him or something. All right, I'll keep going a little bit, and then we'll open up the floor for some questions. And then I've got a Veganuary challenge that's going on. It's completely free, and you guys just will have to text into it. And you guys will get workouts and some nutrition suggestions and things like that. I'm gonna give as much as I can to you guys. I'll dig a little bit more into that because it sounds like too good to be true, right? And trust me, I believe the same thing. But the good thing for me was I had people around me that were some living examples. So first off, Garen Ramundi was a friend of mine, still lives here in Fort Myers. He's big in marketing now. He was at the time, he was doing a bodybuilding competition. So I'm seeing this close friend of mine for some 3, 4, 5 years, literally doing it. Now, he wasn't a very good example, I felt, for me, as far as applicational purposes. Excuse me, and I'll explain why. If you were to see me and you're a woman, right? You're like, well, what you're saying may not necessarily work for me because I don't want to perform like you. There are some ethnic things that come in. Again, I kind of set this up earlier. You guys heard me talk about my family's from Jamaica. So the diet consists very high fat content, right? Just like if you were to meet someone that is from Ireland, for example, right? I had a coach that was in my gym and she was like, I can't believe I'm doing this reverse dieting and I'm taking in way more fats and carbs than I ever have, but yet I'm getting leaner, right? She was someone that struggled with she struggled with obesity for a long time. So for her to be told to eat more was a massive deal. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, you're from like New York, right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, so you're not from New York, your family came from somewhere else. I said, where's your family from? She said, Ireland. I said, oh, it makes sense then. Naturally, your body, right, because of your ethnicity and where your people came from, they fed off of a lot of goat milk, they fed off a lot of goat cheese, a lot of potatoes, a lot of lard, but it was in probably its most natural form, much more natural than you'd find today. A lot of other studies like this as well, through like Thomas Poliquin, with NHL players, that they would send, they were from like very small parts of Canada. So in their off season, they would have them eat only the food that was available to their ancestors as best they can, some 100, 150 years ago, and they completely changed their bodies. So for me, I had to find someone that I thought looked like me, walked like me, and performed the way that I thought I wanted to. So David Carter, if you guys know, David Carter is he's formerly known as the 300-pound vegan. He was the first NFL defensive lineman in the NFL. He was 320, plant-based. And I heard him on a podcast. He told me, he said what he ate. I said, perfect. I started eating like that, and that gave me the fuel to get the performance that I was able to reach. So what I suggest is that you, number one, seek a multitude of mentors. Like, first off, don't take my word for it. You can fact check all this stuff, right? Go back, check it out, get your own information. Number two, I always say go find someone that looks, walks, talks like you want to perform, and then start asking them questions, right? The last thing that I'll probably say is the biggest mistake that I'll see people make when they are trying to go to a plant-based diet, not just for health reasons, but as well for like developing some muscle mass, right? The older we get, the more important it is that you have increased levels of muscle mass, because that muscle is going to shield your body, protect your body, give you the connective tissue strength to be able to get in and out of positions, which is where most injuries, if that probably is the simplest way of explaining, and everybody probably understands that, that's where most injuries are happening, especially for people that are down here in our area, right? So the more time that you invest into learning about that, and that's what I try to give in my programs, is information, the better off you're gonna be. So much of it is misunderstood, because maybe not the people that are here, you're already somewhat exposed to it, but most times when people go plant-based, they'll start removing things from their diet, right? So all these things are taken away that they feel like they can't eat. Now, the one thing I've learned with working for clients for 10 years now, in gyms, online, one-on-one, you name it, is most people don't eat enough already. So now you start eating a plant-based diet with foods you don't know how to cook, you don't know what you're allowed to eat. I was like, what's black rice? Like, what's farro rice? Like, I honestly, this is gonna sound very naive, I never had hummus before I went plant-based. I thought it was like only a food at like white people's rich parties. Like, I never had it at anywhere except for like with my white friends, and they're like, we have hummus. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I never had it before. And I felt robbed. I was like, wait a minute, hummus just comes from chickpeas? I could have been having this my whole life. I wasn't exposed to some of these foods. I was naive to it. So start to get exposed to some new foods. If you know someone that's going plant-based, again, most people are removing things, so they're already in a low caloric deficit. But again, like I said, most people don't eat enough, and the foods they do eat are probably not high quality foods. Most of my diet, if I was to break down a couple tips, and then I'll have to hop off, is I had mostly smoothies, right? Another one they tell you, like, oh, you gotta eat all whole foods. You got complete myth. What do you think your food turns into once you chew it? It's pretty much a smoothie. I mean, you can't swallow it if not, right? So that right there, completely thrown out. I didn't know what to eat, so I was like, man, I'm just gonna put all this stuff in a shake. I was having shakes. Again, I was training to put on muscle mass. I wanna be strong. I like to move things around. So I was having shakes that were around 12 to 1,600 calories I would break up like throughout the day, right? Now, you need to know your caloric intake. If you don't know what your caloric intake is for the goal you have, you need to figure that out. MyFitnessPal can tell you for free, okay? And then at that point, you can break up and very easily get all the nutrients that you need in a shake. Now, to break some of this down again, I'm telling you, I was having on maybe a few days a week more than 100 grams of protein, 240, I was between 240 and 250 pounds. I was, just to give an example, right? Stronger than I ever had been now at 34, 35 years old. I could deadlift 500 pounds from like walking in the gym to warming to in like 5 minutes, right? I could walk in the gym, 135, few reps, 225 back squat, 315, 405, I'm done, right? My heavy back squat was like 445 or 450, which is more than I'd ever done my whole life. Being 6'8", I never really learned how to squat until later in life. All these things, 50 pull-ups unbroken, could run I hadn't run a mile in forever. I ran a mile. I almost PR'd my 5K time actually within like 2 months of being back. And all this without getting over 100 grams of protein. But what you gotta understand, there's one thing I would tell you is the whole protein myth takes into account that your body's not smart enough to use the other nutrients that you put in it. That's the thing you have to remember. You intake calories, your body is smart enough, and the studies have proven it. Go look them up. That it'll take those calories and use them as needed. Now, if you're taking in crappy quality foods, if you're not having large amounts of greens and getting micronutrients, nutrient-dense foods, then you're gonna have a problem, right? So, if you guys want to chat, you can we'll go like over there, and we'll like chat it up. You guys can ask me whatever you want, and I'll give some suggestions for books. I do give a bunch of suggestions for books and sites. I have a crazy Pinterest account that has like so many recipes and stuff for you. This is what I want you guys to do. Take out your phones right now. If you guys are interested in learning at all, okay? I'm gonna give you guys a number. Hold on, I have to get it because I don't even remember it. You're gonna text the number 14 to this number, okay? The number is 678. If you don't want to write it, you can just come find me. 506-7543. I'll say it again. You're going to text the number 14 to 678-506-7543. That's going to put you on a list. It's going to ask you to give your email. It's going to put you on the list, and I'm going to start sending you for 14 days. I'm going to send you some workouts every day. I'm going to send you some stuff on nutrition. I'm going to give you access to my private group on Facebook where you can come and engage with other like-minded individuals, ask questions, get them answered, and any way I can help you guys, I'll help, okay? So if any of you guys enjoyed this, please, I'll tell you what, let's go over here. We can chat it up. I want to get pictures with all you guys. I want to see you guys on Instagram so I can follow you guys and support your journeys. But I'm Marcus Watts, and thank you guys so much for having me. And thanks to Mike, because he let me go longer.